things like this. And this is a little bit more on the mobility side, so perfect for masters swimmers looking to enhance that element of their practice. Let's get started today somewhat into Sukhasana or easy seat. And it's not so easy for everyone. So easy seat requires a lot of external rotation of the hip. And so what can be really helpful for this posture is to bring yourself up onto a block. And that way you get a little bit more space and less external rotation occurs. Let me grab one. So you'll see here that I'm sitting in external rotation of the hip, but I don't have to get so much external rotation. I can have less as my feet drop down lower and my knees can come up a little bit higher. And so allow your legs to relax, whether you're seated on a block or on the ground. Roll your shoulders down away from your ears and close down your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And a big sigh out through your mouth. One more like that. Big breath in through your nose. And big breath out through your mouth. Start to blink your eyes back open and walk your hands towards the side or behind you. You can lean back if you're on that block. Step your feet wide apart towards the edges of your mat and allow your knees to melt inward. They don't have to go far. And then slightly draw them back outward. External rotation, back into internal rotation. Now let's windshield wiper our legs from side to side. Drop both knees one direction, and then both knees the other direction. Again, they can just move by centimeters at a time. Bring your legs back through center. Wrap your arms around your knees and give yourself a squeeze no matter how close you get or how far away you stay from your knees. Let your chin drop towards your chest, and maybe nod your head yes, shake your head no. And then start to sit your hips down to one side of the block or to the earth. Remove your block and come towards your tabletop. So head can face towards the front of your mat, hips towards the back. Spread your fingertips nice and wide. Knees stacking underneath your hips. Let's take some cat-cow. Deep breath in. Exhale, round your back into cat pose. Inhale, come forward, cow. Exhale, round into cat. Once more, inhale, come forward, cow pose, get broad through your collarbones. Exhale, cat pose, round and curl, nose towards your navel. Return towards a neutral spine and start to spin your feet out, take your knees in. Just so much as that you feel a stretch through the insides of your hips. Start to shift forward and backwards as if you're going into child's pose. And shift forward and back 2 more times. And then start to take your knees wide and your feet in. So knees wide towards the long edges of your mat, big toes together to touch, and shift forward and backwards once more. Maybe your hips get a little bit lower towards your heels in this position here. And make your way back into your neutral tabletop. Stack your knees underneath your hips and slide your hips towards the left side. We're coming down into a seat here. And so check in with your legs. You want your front knee to be towards 90-degree angle. If you feel that you need some extra support underneath your hip and that you don't have enough internal rotation quite yet to drop your back knee down, bring a block underneath your glute or underneath your knee. Yeah, so a little bit easier on the hip. You can even take it onto the highest level. Have it open like this. The front knee is towards the ground though. When you're here, start to press down into your hip and your foot. Flex your front foot. Your backhand can serve as a prompt for you. Lift up your front knee. Pull your front knee. It might just move a little bit. And then lower it back down. This time, press your knee into the earth and see if you can lift up your toes. They won't go, but that's okay. You're thinking about a string, pulling your foot towards the ceiling, and then relax. Notice if you can drop your back knee down a little bit more. And if it does reach towards the ground, side, we'll do the same thing with the back leg. Press down into your back foot and lift your knee up off the ground. And then switch the direction. Press your knee down. See if you can lift your foot up into the sky. It might just barely hover. And then release. And so this can happen also with the block underneath your knee, right? Press down into your knee. Can you lift your foot up without sliding your body forward in space? Back stays nice and tall, and it's just your foot that might lift up or just shake, and that's okay. Release the block from underneath your knee. Place both hands behind you, and take your knees all the way across to the opposite side, coming into that 90-90 position once more. Again, if this hip doesn't rotate externally, it's gonna get there. We'll just place a block under the knee for now. You can also have a block underneath your other knee, the hip that's in internal rotation, the knee that's coming towards the midline. So once you've set up here, once you find a position that feels good for your hips, settle your hips down and relax your shoulders. Let's start to press into your front foot. Can you lift your knee up? Starting with the easy one. Release your knee down. Press your knee into the block or the earth. Can you lift the sole of your foot towards the ceiling? My foot just shakes here. And then relax down. Switching over to the back side. We press our back foot into the earth. Can you lift your knee up? Release. Knee down into the ground. Can you lift your foot towards the ceiling? Rather than lean and try to get it up there by force, stay nice and tall and just use your muscles. Again, this one will probably not move. You can press down so hard into your big toe mound that maybe your arch lifts up. And then relax. Take both hands behind you. Draw your knees up through center and give your hips a nice little shake out. You might take your feet wide and do some small windshield wipers from side to side. We're moving down into the recline now. Take your block with you if you'd like it. And start to roll your body down towards the earth. You can plant your feet down on the ground, extend your arms out long in front of you, and slowly roll down one vertebrae at a time. Once you get there, extend your hands down by your sides and send your feet long towards the back of your mat. Start to walk your heels towards your glutes and press down into your feet so you can lift your hips up slightly and lower your low back down to the ground. From here, start to pull your right knee towards your chest, just using your hip flexors and core. So no hands involved right now. And while we're here, play around with drawing your foot towards your belly and then back towards the back of your mat. And then see if you can pull your foot towards your shoulder and then back towards the back mat. One more time, in to midline, towards the back of mat, and then away from your midline. So it's like a clock that is turning from 12 p.m., which is where your feet are, towards 1 p.m., out to the side. Bring your foot back through neutral. Use your hands down and squeeze your knee towards your chest. Massage out your hip. Finding external rotation, drawing to the side, and then internal rotation, drawing back towards your other bent knee. The next time that you find external rotation, bring your knee wide. Start to pull your foot towards your midline. So that's adduction, adduction, pulling towards midline. Slide your leg, more adduction, pull towards the midline so that your foot can cross over your thigh. You might extend your leg down long if you need more room, or draw it in closer. No matter where you are, before you engage your arms, think about widening your knee, the crossed knee, away from your body. So it's almost like you're pushing it away with your hand, but we're going to do it energetically. No hands included yet. Start to flex through your toes, and then use your strength to pull your foot that is on the ground in towards your tummy. So knee is coming towards your chest, foot is pulling up, and then maybe bring the hands underneath your thigh. Again, your foot can always stay on the ground here. It's just about where you feel the stretch. If you're pulling your leg in and your knee is clustering towards your armpit, you're losing the integrity of the posture. Recommit by placing your foot back on the ground, widening your knee away first, and settling into the stretch here. See if you can press into your foot. Press your foot into your thigh. It's almost like we're going from this variation here, and we're pushing away from our upper body. And then relax. Let everything go loose. See if you can find a little bit more range, whether that is pulling your knee towards your chest or placing a block underneath your bottom foot for just a little bit more leverage, a little bit more flexion in your bottom hip. To come out of this posture, release your foot down to the ground, whether you have it clasped and interlaced or just resting on the block. Uncross your right knee and send your right leg long. Feel stretch through the front line of your hip flexors, moving into extension versus all of that flexion. And then we'll go the other side. So pull your knee towards your chest. You can plant your opposite foot down on the ground. Give it a massage. Massage out your hip joint, moving from external rotation towards your armpit, and then internal rotation towards your midline. Take your foot out to the side, external rotation. Imagine there's a string pulling the sole of your foot towards your face, and then cross your ankle over your right thigh. Immediately start to energetically widen your knee away from your armpit. Keep the flex through your foot. And then, using your muscles, you might start to draw your knee towards your chest. Always energetically widening your bent knee across and away from your shoulders. Again, place the block underneath your bottom foot or find an interlace with your hands. You can use your biceps to pull your knee in closer, but just encourage that widening and spreading of both collarbones and of your knee. And then start to press into your crossed foot. Press away, away, away from you as your biceps draw you in or the block lifts your leg up. And then relax. Release your heel down to the ground and we'll hold for a second here. So maintaining this figure four, whether your foot is sliding away from your glute or coming in close, we'll extend our arms out to a T and find a subtle twist, engaging the low back so that it can loosen and be relaxed. So first things first, see if you can draw your navel towards your spine slightly, knit your front ribs down, have the back of your neck long, and then slowly start to drop your feet towards one side. It should be so that your foot that's crossed over is the one coming towards planting on the ground. Before relaxing, use your core to pull your legs back through center. And this time, drop your feet over to the ground. Allow your low back to release and relax as your feet find the earth or plant down on towards a block. If you're not enjoying the bind, you can always release your top foot and come into knees stacked on top of one another. If you still maintain that figure four position though, keep pushing your knee away from you. And then to come out of this posture, we simply draw our legs back through center, untangle, and we'll go the other side. So place the block on the opposite side if you enjoy using it. Find figure four on the opposite side, arms out wide to a T, and drop your legs over top of your body towards the side. Keep your low back engaged, draw your navel in, pull your legs back through center, widen your knee away. The last time we drop over, maintaining that, hover, and release. Relax your bottom leg, relax your low back. Your gaze might turn to the opposite side if that feels okay for your neck. And then everything comes back through center, gaze and legs. Release your top leg and wiggle your feet from side to side, shake yourself out. And then to counter this deep external rotation of the hip, we'll find a gentle internal rotation to conclude. So take your feet wide of your mat and allow your knees to start to drop in. Internal rotation of the hip. So your knees might come into midline and your feet might walk out really wide, or you might just take your feet slightly wide and drop your knees in. From here, wherever you are, plant your feet hip width distance apart. So we're coming to that kind of neutral. And then take them maybe a centimeter wider. From here, drop one knee in at a time. Keep both your hip bones somewhat facing towards the ceiling. And then pull your leg back for neutral. Now drop the opposite knee towards your midline. And then pull back up. So just one at a time, dropping in. And then rolling back out. Try to avoid spinning onto your side hip. And rather, again, keep your low back nice and firm. Keep your hip bones ground down and then pointing up. Just one leg at a time, dropping down and back. You're going to start to pull your knees towards your chest, give them a nice big squeeze, and rock and roll up and down the length of your spine or find fetal pose to get yourself back up into a seat. And thank you so much for following along with that hip and low back mobility. Figure 4 is such a nice way to stretch but also activate your hip joint. We'll see you next time. Mahalo.